You've been carrying their expectations like stones in your pockets. Your parents wanted you to be a doctor. Your partner needs you to be available 24/7. Your friends expect you to always say yes. Your boss assumes you'll stay late, again. And somewhere along the way, you started shrinking, making yourself smaller, quieter, less. Here's the question that changes everything. What would you do if disappointing people wasn't the worst thing that could happen to you? Because here's what nobody tells you. The moments you disappointed people were probably the moments you were finally being honest. The moments you chose yourself. The moments you actually started growing. Let me show you why the fear of disappointing others is the invisible cage keeping you small. This is uncomfortable, but important. Every single person who ever grew into their fullest self disappointed somebody. Think about it. Every major life decision, changing careers, ending relationships, setting boundaries, pursuing dreams, requires disappointing someone's version of who you should be. Your growth will always disappoint the people who benefited from your smallness. Read that again. The friend who loved that you were always available? They'll be disappointed when you start prioritizing your own time. The family members who loved that you never caused waves? They'll be uncomfortable when you start speaking your truth. The partner who appreciated your flexibility? They'll feel threatened when you develop non-negotiable standards. And here's the part that will set you free. Their disappointment is not your emergency. You've been operating under a false belief that being a good person means never letting anyone down. That love means contorting yourself into whatever shape others need. That belonging requires the constant sacrifice of your own needs, dreams, and boundaries. But that's not love. That's self-abandonment with better PR. The truth is this: you cannot grow and please everyone simultaneously. Growth requires change. Change disrupts expectations. Disrupted expectations create disappointment. This is not a design flaw in your character. This is the mathematics of transformation. You're not choosing between being selfish or selfless. You're choosing between being authentic or invisible. Let me show you exactly what's happening when the fear of disappointing others runs your life. Pattern 1. The people-pleasing prison. You've built your entire identity around being the helpful one, the reliable one, the one who never says no, and it feels good at first. People appreciate you, need you, depend on you. But here's what's actually happening. You're outsourcing your self-worth to other people's approval. Every time you say yes when you want to say no, you're sending a message to your brain. Their comfort matters more than my truth. Their needs are more important than mine. I am only valuable when I'm useful to others. This creates a devastating feedback loop. The more you please, the more people expect it. The more they expect it, the more trapped you feel. The more trapped you feel, the more resentful you become. But you can't express that resentment because, ironically, it would disappoint them. So you smile, you accommodate, you shrink, and every time you do, you lose a little piece of yourself. Think about your last week. How many times did you say yes when everything in your body was screaming no? How many times did you change your plans, sacrifice your time, or suppress your opinion to avoid making someone uncomfortable? Those weren't acts of kindness. Those were acts of self-betrayal. Pattern 2. The expectation escalation. Here's something fascinating. The more you accommodate, the more entitled people become to your accommodation. It's not malicious. It's human nature. When you consistently prioritize someone else's needs over your own, they start to see your self-sacrifice as your personality, not your choice. It becomes the baseline, the new normal. So when you finally set a boundary, when you say, "I can't tonight," or "that doesn't work for me," or "I need to prioritize something else," they experience it as a sudden change, a withdrawal, a betrayal. But you're not changing, you're just finally stopping the unsustainable pattern. You're not taking something away, you're stopping giving something you never owed in the first place. This is why the people who are most upset when you start setting boundaries are usually the ones who benefited most from you not having any. They're not upset because you've become selfish. They're upset because your lack of boundaries was convenient for them, and they've never had to examine that convenience. Until now. Pattern 3. The authenticity crisis. Here's the thing that changes everything. When you're constantly managing other people's feelings, you lose access to your own. You become so skilled at reading the room, anticipating needs, preventing disappointment, that you forget how to listen to yourself. You don't know what you actually want because you've spent so long focused on what everyone else needs. Someone asks what you want for dinner. You freeze. What do they want? What would make them happy? What's the least complicated option? You've become a ghost in your own life. Present, but not really there. Accommodating, but not actually connecting. Helpful, but not honest. This is the cost nobody talks about. People-pleasing doesn't just exhaust you, it erases you. You become a reflection of everyone else's expectations, a composite of their needs, a person-shaped space where your authentic self used to be. And the terrifying part? Sometimes you catch a glimpse of who you might have become if you'd chosen yourself more often, if you'd disappointed them sooner, if you'd been brave enough to let people down. That version of you haunts you, because somewhere deep down, they're not asking too much of you, you're asking too little of yourself. If these patterns are resonating with you, if you're thinking, this is exactly what I've been doing and I didn't even have the words for it. This is exactly why I create this content every single week. I break down the invisible patterns that keep us stuck, so you can finally understand what's been running your life beneath the surface. Subscribe, so you never miss these weekly insights. Every week, I'm here helping you decode the psychology behind the behaviors that have felt confusing, shameful, or unchangeable. Hit that subscribe button to continue getting this level of depth and clarity, because you deserve to understand yourself this well. Pattern 4. The resentment build-up. Here's what happens when you never disappoint anyone. You start resenting everyone. It's subtle at first. A slight irritation when your friend asks for another favor. A flash of anger when your partner expects you to accommodate their plans. A heavy exhaustion when you see your family's name on your phone. You tell yourself you're just tired, overwhelmed, having a bad day. But here's the truth. Resentment is what happens when you repeatedly betray yourself to please others. It's your psyche's alarm system screaming, you're violating your own boundaries, you're sacrificing your needs, you're disappearing, and the cruelest irony, you start resenting the very people you're trying so hard not to disappoint. You hate them for asking, for expecting, for needing, but they didn't create this dynamic, you did. By never saying no, by never setting limits, by teaching them that your needs are negotiable and theirs are not. The resentment isn't really about them, it's about you, about every time you chose their comfort over your truth. About every time you smiled through your own discomfort to preserve their ease. Your resentment is trying to tell you something. It's time to start disappointing people. Pattern 5. The growth ceiling. This is the pattern that keeps you stuck forever. Fear of disappointing people creates a ceiling on your growth. You can't change careers because your parents will be disappointed. You can't end that relationship because they need you. You can't pursue that dream because people will think you're being unrealistic. You can't set that boundary because they'll be hurt. So you stay. In the job that drains you. In the relationship that diminishes you. In the life that feels too small. Not because you want to, but because leaving would disappoint someone. Think about that. You're willing to disappoint yourself every single day to avoid disappointing someone else once. You're sacrificing years of potential growth to avoid minutes of someone else's discomfort. Here's what nobody tells you. Their temporary disappointment is not worth your permanent stagnation. Every major transformation in your life will require disappointing someone's expectations. The only question is, will you choose their expectations or your evolution? So why do we do this? Why do we sacrifice ourselves on the altar of other people's approval? Let's talk about what's actually happening in your psychology. The attachment wound. For most of us, the fear of disappointing people started early. Maybe you learned that love was conditional, that you were only valuable when you were achieving, helping, or being good. Maybe you had parents who withdrew affection when you displeased them. Maybe you grew up in an environment where your needs were seen as burdens. So you developed a survival strategy. Make yourself indispensable. Become the one who never causes problems. Be so helpful, so accommodating, so pleasant that they can't abandon you. It worked. Kind of. You got approval, acceptance, a sense of security, but you paid for it with yourself. This pattern gets encoded deep in your nervous system. Disappointing people doesn't just feel uncomfortable, it feels dangerous. Your brain's threat detection system activates, your body tenses, your heart races. Your nervous system can't distinguish between, I disappointed my mother when I was 8, and I disappointed my colleague this morning. To your amygdala, Both feel like threats to your survival. The social belonging need humans are wired for connection. For thousands of years, being excluded from the group meant death. You needed the tribe to survive, so your brain evolved incredibly sensitive social threat detection. When someone is disappointed in you, your brain processes it as a form of social rejection, and social rejection activates the same neural pathways as physical pain. You're not being dramatic when disappointing someone feels agonizing. Your brain is literally experiencing it as a threat to your survival and belonging. The problem? Your brain is using Stone Age software in a modern world. Your colleague's disappointment won't get you expelled from the tribe and left to die in the wilderness, but your nervous system doesn't know that. The identity investment. Here's something most people miss. You've built your entire identity around being the person who doesn't disappoint. I'm reliable. I'm helpful. I'm always there for people. These aren't just traits, they're who you believe you are. Your sense of self is constructed around your ability to meet others' expectations. So, when you consider disappointing someone, it doesn't just feel like you're letting them down, it feels like you're destroying yourself. Who are you if you're not the helpful one, the reliable one, the one who sacrifices? This is why changing this pattern feels so terrifying. You're not just afraid of their reaction, you're afraid you'll disappear entirely. But here's the truth you need to hear. The version of you that never disappoints anyone isn't your true self. It's your survival self. And you are so much more than a survival strategy. Let me tell you something important. This pattern isn't a character flaw, it's an adaptation. You didn't become a people pleaser because you're weak, codependent, or broken. You became a people pleaser because at some point in your life, it was the smartest thing you could do to stay safe, loved, and connected. Maybe you grew up in an environment where your emotional needs were treated as inconvenient, so you learned to minimize yourself, to need less, to give more. Maybe you experienced abandonment or rejection, and your brain concluded, if I can just be good enough, helpful enough, perfect enough, they won't leave. Maybe you watched the people who set boundaries get labeled as selfish, difficult, or cold, and you decided, I'll never be like that, I'll be the one everyone can count on. These weren't mistakes, these were intelligent adaptations to environments that couldn't hold your full humanity. The problem isn't that you developed this pattern, the problem is that you've outgrown the environment that required it, but the pattern remains. You're not in that childhood home anymore. You're not that powerless child whose survival depended on parental approval. You're an adult, with resources, options, and the capacity to handle other people's disappointment. Your people-pleasing was protection, but what once protected you is now imprisoning you. And here's the compassion you need to extend to yourself. You weren't wrong to develop this pattern. You were doing the best you could with what you knew, with what you had, with what felt safe. But now you have new information, new capacity, new choices. You get to update the strategy, not because the old one was bad, but because you've grown beyond it. You don't need to please everyone to be worthy of love. You never did. So, how do you break free? How do you start disappointing people without imploding? Let me give you a roadmap. Step 1. Audit your yeses. For the next week, pay attention to every time you say yes, and before you do, pause and ask yourself, am I saying yes because I want to, or because I'm afraid of what happens if I say no? This is about building awareness. You can't change a pattern you don't see. Keep a simple note in your phone, track it. You'll be shocked by how often your yeses are driven by fear, obligation, or guilt rather than genuine desire. And here's the key. Don't judge yourself for it. Don't try to change it yet. Just notice. Just see. Awareness is the first step. Self-compassion is the second. Step 2. Start with low stakes. No's. You don't have to quit your job or end relationships tomorrow. Start small. Practice disappointing people in low-stakes situations. Your colleague asks you to grab coffee. You're exhausted. Say, I'd love to another time, but I need to take care of something else today. Your friend invites you to an event you have no interest in. Say, that's not really my thing, but I hope you have a great time. The waiter asks if everything was okay. The food was mediocre. Say, it was fine, but not quite what I was hoping for. These small acts of honesty build your capacity for bigger ones. You're training your nervous system that disappointing people won't kill you. Notice what happens. Usually, nothing catastrophic. They move on. The world keeps spinning. And you're still okay. Step 3. Separate their feelings from your worth. Here's the shift that changes everything. Someone being disappointed in you is not evidence that you did something wrong. Their disappointment is information about the gap between their expectations and your reality. That's it. It doesn't mean you're selfish. It doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't mean you owe them what they wanted. Practice this mantra. I can care about their feelings without making their feelings my responsibility. You can acknowledge their disappointment with empathy while still honoring your boundary. I understand you're disappointed. This is still what I need to do. Their feelings are valid, and so are your boundaries. Both can be true simultaneously. Step 4. Get comfortable with temporary discomfort. Here's what you need to know. Disappointing people will feel uncomfortable at first. That's not a sign you're doing it wrong. That's a sign you're doing it right. Your nervous system is used to prioritizing others' comfort over your own truth. When you start doing the opposite, it's going to feel weird, wrong, selfish. That discomfort is not danger, it's growth. Think of it like building a muscle. The first time you lift weights, it hurts. That soreness isn't injury, it's adaptation. Your muscles are getting stronger. The same is true here. The discomfort of disappointing people is your psychological muscles adapting to a new way of being. Stronger, more honest, more whole. Breathe through it. Remind yourself, this discomfort is temporary. My growth is permanent. Step 5. Surround yourself with people who can handle your no. Pay attention to how people respond when you set boundaries. Do they respect your no? Or do they push back, guilt trip, or withdraw affection? The people who truly love you can handle your boundaries. They might be surprised at first, especially if you've never set them before. But they'll adjust. They'll respect it. The people who can't handle your boundaries, they were never loving you. They were loving your compliance. This is painful to discover, but it's also liberating, because it shows you who's actually in your corner, who wants you to grow, who can handle the real you, not just the accommodating version. Build relationships with people who celebrate your growth, even when it inconveniences them. Those are your people. Imagine this. Someone asks you for something, a favor, your time, your energy, and you feel nothing. No panic, no guilt, no immediate scramble to figure out how to make it work. Just a simple, quiet knowing. Do I want to do this? Does this align with what I need right now? And if the answer is no, you say it. Kindly, clearly, without over-explaining or apologizing profusely. I can't make that work. That doesn't work for me. I'm going to pass this time. And you watch their face. Maybe they're disappointed. Maybe they're surprised. Maybe they push back a little. And you feel it. The old familiar tug. The urge to cave. To fix their disappointment. To make it better. But this time, you don't. You breathe. You stay grounded in your truth. You let them have their feelings without making those feelings your emergency. And then something miraculous happens. The world doesn't end. They move on. They find another solution. They adjust their expectations. And you're still standing. Still whole. Actually, more whole than you've been in years. You start noticing something else too. The people who truly matter stick around. They respect your boundaries. They appreciate your honesty. They might even tell you they're proud of you for finally taking up space. And the people who can't handle the real you, they drift away. And it hurts less than you thought it would, because you realize they were never really connected to you. They were connected to what you could do for them. You have energy now, time, space, because you're not constantly giving it all away to avoid disappointing people. You pursue that thing you've been putting off. You take that class. You start that project. You have that conversation you've been avoiding. You start living like someone who belongs to themselves. And here's what changes everything. You realize that disappointing people isn't the opposite of love. Abandoning yourself to avoid disappointing them, that's the opposite of love. Real love, the kind that actually sustains relationships, requires honesty, boundaries, the willingness to let people be disappointed when your truth doesn't match their expectations. You become someone who disappoints people sometimes, and you're also someone who's finally, fully alive, present in your own life, honest in your relationships, growing into who you were always meant to be. That's the vision, not perfection, not never letting anyone down, but finally choosing yourself enough to let others experience their own disappointment. You get to grow, even if it disappoints them. If you've made it this far, you're ready for real change. You've just invested these minutes in understanding yourself at a level most people never reach, and that matters. This community is full of people on the same journey, learning to choose ourselves without apology, to set boundaries without guilt, to grow even when it disappoints the people around us. Subscribe to be part of this ongoing transformation. Every week, we're here breaking down the patterns that keep us small and building the courage to take up space. You belong here. Welcome to a community where your growth matters more than their comfort, where your truth is more important than their ease. You're not alone in this anymore. Here's your challenge for this week. Disappoint one person. Not to be cruel, not to prove a point, but to practice honoring yourself. Say no to something you'd normally say yes to out of obligation. Skip the event you don't want to attend. Decline the favor that would drain you. Set one boundary you've been avoiding. And then, this is the important part. Notice what happens. Notice their reaction. Notice your own feelings. Notice that you survive it. Write it down. Reflect on it. Let it become evidence that disappointing people is not the catastrophe your nervous system believes it to be. You deserve to take up space. You deserve to have needs. You deserve to grow, even if your growth requires other people to adjust their expectations of you. Subscribe as you commit to this transformation. Share this with someone who needs permission to finally choose themselves. And comment below. What's one boundary you're going to set this week? Let's support each other in this. You're not selfish for growing. You're not cruel for being honest. You're not wrong for needing what you need. You're just finally becoming the version of yourself that's been waiting for permission to exist. Give yourself that permission. Disappoint them if you have to, but don't disappoint yourself anymore.